Hey, it's me, Jennifer, your French teacher in the south of France, and today I'm going to talk to you about how to say him and her and them. And we're also going to talk about how to say it. Okay, so why? Why is it so hard for people? Well, have you ever found yourself in this situation and you're like, am I supposed to say lui or am I supposed to say le to mean him? And am I supposed to say lui or la to mean her? And am I supposed to say les or leur to mean them? And how in the world do you say it? That's what this lesson is about, okay? And so it's all about direct and indirect object pronouns. So, yeah, you might be sitting here saying, all right, well, I'm not going to get anything out of this lesson because I don't really know what a direct or indirect object pronoun is. I don't remember that lesson from school. I'll tell you what it is. Don't worry, it's not hard, but you might want to get out a pen and take some notes because this lesson, like I told you, we're going to talk about le, la, les, lui, leur, and how to say it, her, him, and them in French. So the first thing we need to talk about is the difference between a direct and indirect object. All right, before we even start talking about pronouns. So one of the first things that my students ask me, they say, well, Jennifer, before we can get into this, can you please explain to me what's a direct object? Okay, what's an indirect object? Because in English, if we want to say, I'm talking to him, we just say, well, I'm talking to him. We don't have to decide between the word him and some other word based on whether we're dealing with a direct or indirect object pronoun. And if we want to say, I'm watching them, we just say them. And again, we don't care if it's direct or indirect. But that's because that's how it works in English. But you know by now, if you're studying pronouns, that things get a little bit tricky. So here we go. What's the difference? What is a direct object? So direct objects, and this is really need to remember this. Direct object answers the question who, and it answers the question what. So if I say, I'm calling Jennifer, who am I calling? Jennifer. So that's my direct object. Or if it's a thing, like a TV, I'm watching TV. What am I watching? Well, I'm watching the TV. That answers the question what. So that's my direct object. Now, I've got to tell you, you know, things get tricky in French, right? So we're about to look at a big French grammar problem, okay? But we're going to solve it together. Don't worry. So look at this. Jennifer, okay, of course, we've decided Jennifer answers the question who, direct object. She's a person. Not only that, she answers the question who. And so as a direct object, if I want to say her, you know, I don't want to be repetitive and just say, oh, I'm calling Jennifer. I'm going to talk to Jennifer about what we are going to do tonight, and, you know, so on and so forth. You need to use pronoun. But here's what I was talking about. The big French grammar problem is that there are two ways to say her in French, okay? So that's what this video lesson is all about. There are two ways. You can either say lui or you can say la, okay? So we've decided that Jennifer, when I say j'appelle Jennifer, I'm calling Jennifer, j'appelle Jennifer, that is a direct object. So when you are dealing with direct objects, you're going to use la to replace Jennifer because Jennifer is singular and feminine. Have a look. J'appelle Jennifer. Who? Qui? Yes, it answers that question. Direct object. So I need to use the pronoun la. D'accord? Now, look at this. TV. When we start talking about TV, we've already established that it answers the question what. So if I want to say it instead of repeating myself, I'm going to use a pronoun. But which one? Because here again, we've got a big French grammar problem. There are two ways to say it in French. Le versus la, and you got it. You have to know the gender of télévision. So that's the hardest thing. We'll talk about it, the word it, a little bit later in the lesson toward the end. Because it's not really hard. The only thing hard about saying it in French is knowing whether that word is masculine or feminine. Sometimes you have a few tricks, like this word télévision, for example. ends in I-O-N, and I can tell you what, if a word ends in I-O-N, it's going to be feminine in French. Sometimes there are tricks that work like that. Okay, so yeah, you just got to learn the feminine, masculine things. You got a 50-50 chance. If you mess up on it, it's not the end of the world. And you know what? If you say lui instead of la, it's not the end of the world either. And French people are usually pretty good at correcting you. Usually. So just, if they do, don't take offense. Say thank you, all right? But they might not know how to explain it to you. So that's why I'm here. All right, let's keep going now. We've talked about a couple of big problems. Now let's talk about this sentence. J'appelle Tristan. All right, this looks much like j'appelle Jennifer. You can tell I was kind of losing inspiration. It's hard to find names. Tristan is my son's name. So Tristan is a guy, right? Big French grammar problem. Okay, how do you say him in French? You know that you have the choice between le and lui. So since Tristan, j'appelle Tristan. Who am I calling? Tristan. Singular, masculine, direct object. So I need to use le. D'accord? Now, le, remember, can mean him or it. It, if we're talking about a masculine, singular noun. And la can mean her or it if we're talking about a masculine, a feminine and singular noun. So that's all we're going to say about direct objects for the moment. And now we're going to talk about indirect objects. So remember, now, which two questions do direct objects answer? Who and what? J'appelle Jennifer. Who am I calling? Jennifer. La. J'appelle Tristan. Who am I calling? Le. Tac? Okay. So now, indirect objects answer the question, write this down too. Indirect object pronouns answer the question to whom and for whom. So instead of what and who, it's to whom and for whom. So look at the examples I've given you here. Anytime in a French sentence, if you have a followed by a person or an animal, you're going to use lui. So lui can mean him or her as an indirect object. And maybe you've seen other situations in French when lui is only masculine, but not when you want to say him and her. It's always going to be lui. So you might also have pour plus a person or an animal. Okay, and that's also an indirect object pronoun. So you would use lui. So that's answering your questions to whom and for whom. A and pour, to and for. Now if you have a plural, like a plus people or animals, that's when you use leur. Or pour plus people or animals, that's when you use leur. And let me tell you something. Sometimes you may have also seen in French leur with an S on it. Like I have their shoes. Well, that's a possessive pronoun, leurs chaussures. And if chaussures is plural, then you're going to have an S on leur. But that's a different kind of leur. It's not at all the same kind of leur. It doesn't mean them. All right? So when you're using indirect object pronouns, leur never has an S. Never, ever, ever. Okay? All right, a little bit more about indirect object pronouns. Look at this example. Je téléphone à Jennifer. Now that answers the question to whom. So I'm calling an indirect object. Jennifer is an indirect object. So I just told you when I showed you that chart, here, look back at this chart. If you have a plus a person, then you're going to use lui. So that's what happens here. Je téléphone à Jennifer. I'm calling Jennifer, so je lui téléphone. But what is going on? How can this such a simple I'm calling somebody, right? So I just got finished telling you a few minutes ago that Jennifer is a direct object. I know. It's confusing, but that's why I chose this particular example. I'm calling Jennifer. Because when you use, and this is a key, when you use a verb like appeler, it's not followed by a, So remember, I said, j'appelle Jennifer. Jennifer is a direct object, so I replace that name with la, or L apostrophe, because it comes before a vowel in this. Je l'appelle. I'll show you this in a second. But in my second example, I said, je téléphone. Now the verb téléphoner is followed by a, and it's not in English. So we would just say, I'm calling or I'm phoning Jennifer. There's no a, there's no word to in there. So that's when, perfect example of, unfortunately just having to learn it, memorize. So anytime you learn a new verb and you see, oh, there's an a after that, enregistrer. You have to remember that. God, I didn't when I was first learning French. And then I had such a problem with this lui and leur. So it took me years. I think I had been teaching it for like 2 years before it finally clicked, So please, please, please remember that even though these sentences mean the same thing, look at how they're put together. J'appelle Jennifer. Je téléphone à Jennifer. J'appelle Tristan. Je téléphone à Tristan. So many times you can just say more. You have more than one way to say the exact same thing. It happens all the time in every language. You can do it in English too. So here's another example. Okay, I'm calling my mom. In English, I'm calling her, right? So in French, j'appelle ma mère. Je l'appelle. I'm telephoning my mom. I'm telephoning her. Je lui téléphone. D'accord? So, look, let's go back. Same thing for Jennifer and Tristan, right? I know I'm getting a little repetitive here. I just wanted you to see that. Now, remember, how to identify an indirect object pronoun is going to answer the question à qui or pour qui. So here are some examples for you. Je parle à Marie. So, since we have à Marie, je lui parle. Well, that makes sense. I am speaking to Marie. We have that word to in English. Okay, nous écrivons à Noah et Léo. We are writing to Noah and Léo. Nous leur écrivons. On lit aux enfants. We're reading to the children. On leur lit. Tu fais un gâteau pour ta maman. So you're making a cake for your mother. Tu lui fais un gâteau. Vous faites le dîner pour votre famille. You're making dinner for your family. So, vous leur faites le dîner. D'accord? Now, have a look at this. Now, we're talking about direct objects again. Elles aident leurs amis. They're helping who? Their friends. Elles les aident. So they're helping them. And why are we not using leur? Because if you look at the sentence, elles aident leurs amis, there is no à or pour in front of leurs amis. All right? So leurs amis, don't let that trip you up either, because that's not an indirect object pronoun. That has an S on it. That's a possessive adjective, and it means their. All right? So it still gets replaced by les. I know that sometimes that trips my students up, so don't let it happen to you. Nous cherchons Madame Dubois. Nous la cherchons. We're looking for Madame Dubois. Now notice in French we don't say nous cherchons pour Madame Dubois, right? That's included in the verb chercher. Same thing for j'attends. J'attends Stéphanie means I'm waiting for Stephanie. There's no pour in there. Je l'attends. Vous aimez votre oncle. You love your uncle. Who do you love? Direct object, uncle. Vous l'aimez. Or, je vois le chien. I see the dog. Je le vois. D'accord? So, does that make sense so far? Because that's the easy part. I'm about to get into something a little bit tricky. And the tricky part is because, you just can't expect one language to work exactly like another one. So sometimes there are these little differences that make a world of difference when you're speaking and trying to decide between lui and, le and all that kind of stuff. So tricky. Here we go. When we say in English, you disobey your parents, well, that's a direct object, right? It answers the question, who? Who do you disobey your parents? But in French, tu désobéis à tes parents. So why is there an a after désobéir in French when there's not an a or a tu after it in English? Because it's not the same freaking language. I mean, you have to just memorize that désobéir has an a after it. So that means a plus more than one person, tu leur désobéis. And so I'm going to go up to a previous slide, okay? When we're talking about indirect object, these were easy because I talk to Marie. We write to them. We read to them. In English, I make a cake for her. I'm making dinner for them. Those were straightforward. But let's get back to these tricky ones. You look like your aunt. Haha. Well, that's in English, of course. Who do you look like? Direct object. But in French, tu ressembles à ta tante. So we have to use lui. So ressembler is another verb that's followed by a. D'accord? You are hurting your sister. Tu fais mal à ta sœur. Ah, you see? Ah is there. So we say tu lui fais mal. Arrête. Tu lui fais mal. You're shaming your teachers. Guys, I mean, I felt so stupid coming up with some of these examples, but, I really wanted to look for a place where you have the ah in French where you don't have it in English. So, you are not shaming your teachers, I'm sure. But here's how you would say it if you were. Tu fais honte à tes professeurs. So, tu leur fais honte. And then finally, you are answering Robert. Tu réponds à Robert. So the big difference is because of that a that follows the verb. Well, Jennifer, how am I supposed to know if there's an a after the verb or not? These things just take time. I mean, you can't expect just to know all of a sudden which verbs are followed by a in French when you don't have it in English. So the best you can do, if you don't know, the best you can do is just try. And if you make a mistake, you can hope that someone corrects you. And then in your mind, after this lesson, at least you'll know the reason why. If someone just blankly stares at you when you say tu le parles and they say lui, you're like, okay, lui, but why? Now you know why. D'accord? Okay. So that's just my little word of wisdom. I have lots of those. All right, let's have a look at this next slide, because I told you we were going to talk about how to say it. So it is not hard to say. You know what? I had a French teacher once, long time ago in high school. And she said, oh, there's no way to say it in French. And I was like, well, then, we're screwed. What are we going to do? We can't say it, so we can't speak French. Of course there's a way to say it. You just have to know if what it is masculine or feminine. So, you've got a 50-50 chance. If you don't know, just guess. That's all I can say. And if you get it wrong, write it down. Okay, so I'm looking for my bike. Je cherche mon vélo. Don't let that word mon get you messed up either, because mon just means my bike. It still answers the question, what? What am I looking for? So that's still a direct object. And remember, indirect objects are never going to be things. They're always going to be people and animals. So if it's a thing, then you know you need le, la, or les. D'accord? So since mon vélo is masculine, singular, je le cherche. Tu attends le bus. Tu l'attends. Nous payons la facture. Nous la payons. Je lave ma voiture. Je la lave. Vous regardez le film. Vous le regardez. Okay? So yeah, the hardest part about that is knowing feminine, masculine thing. By the way, always put your pronoun in front of the verb. Okay? So now, I want to show you what if you want to say them when you're referring to things. Hold on, let me come back and look at you, because this is funny. Sometimes, and it can still happen to me today. It doesn't matter how long you speak French, you're still going to learn new words all the time and sometimes forget if they're masculine or feminine. And well, if you're not a native speaker, somehow it just comes to them naturally. I don't know. But anyway, I found myself in situations where I didn't know if a word was masculine or feminine. There's a trick. If you can reformulate your sentence and make that word plural, then you can just say les, because it doesn't matter if the word is plural. It doesn't matter if it's masculine or feminine. You can just say les. So that's what I was showing you. It's the same sentence as we had in the singular just a minute ago, but now I've just made them all plural. So you can see over in the far right-hand column, it doesn't matter if it's masculine, feminine. It's always les. Les, 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 les. D'accord? So anyway, if you would like to have a lesson guide, a study guide, with all of the rules and all of the examples from this lesson, then that's easy to do. All you have to do is look down in the video description below, and you can enroll in my mini course. And in the mini course, you'll get a downloadable version of this video, and you'll also get a study guide with special little study tips that I didn't even mention in the video. You will get some quizzes to take so that you can practice over and over and over again. You will get a set of 75 practice cards that you can either print out, or you can just look at them on your tablet, on your phone, or on your, on your computer. Or, if you are a supporter of mine on Patreon, or if you would like to be, you can find out more about that also. There's a link in the video description. I'm going to go on and in fact, I've already done it. I've already put this video and the study guide on there. So you can just go down and download it, okay? So voila, I hope that this lesson has been helpful. And if you ever have I gave this lesson today because someone suggested it to me. She said, Jennifer, I never know the difference, and can you please make a video on that? And I said, well, sure I can, because I have videos on direct objects and indirect objects, but I've never made a video about how to choose which one to use. So, just like this girl, a student of mine actually gave me this idea, you can do the same thing. You can send me, I didn't mean to go to that slide. Here's my email address right here, french@lovelearninglanguages.com. You can send me an email, or you can write in the comments below. And so now I guess I'll go to this cute little slide. I thought I'd try this out. I'll tell you ciao et à la prochaine, because I am Jennifer, your French teacher in the south of France. And actually, I prefer to come back and talk to you. You're probably not here anymore, because I'm rambling at this point. Let me know if you have questions about this lesson. Et je vous dis à très bientôt. Merci. Ciao. Now I have to turn it off. That's why I wanted the slide, because I didn't want you to see me looking at how to turn this off. Okay, I found it. Bye-bye.